want to know what I'm trying to find out with you, Everton? My
Nah,
bad.
go ahead.
My
Yeah.
bad. No, my bad. My bad. I realized that's my fault. I mean that. But I'm trying to figure out what players you think can like succeed as the main guy on a championship contender. So like you can't get some other guy that's gonna be like better than them. They have to be the vocal point of your championship teams. That makes sense.
Yep. Got you.
So I had five names, and I'm actually gonna audible one of them off because I got really intrigued when we said in an earlier conversation. So let's get right into it.
All
Can
right.
Anthony Davis be the main guy on a championship team? LeBron can't
Oh
be the
man.
second guy. And it doesn't have to be the team they're on now. I want to make that clear. It's just
Mhm.
if you're building a team, this has to be your main guy, like your vocal point. Can they win you a championship, Anthony Davis?
So for the same reasons I said earlier, with his like weird inconsistency sometimes, I'm not sure. And his injury is honestly, he's been relatively healthy this year, which is a good thing. But you always have
Mhm.
to keep in back in your mind, AD, Data Davis, of course, you know. Um, but like I want to say yes, because on the court, I feel like he can be because of what he impacts the game with his inside scoring. He's actually been pretty solid from midi. He's not a he shouldn't be your main 3-point shooter, obviously, but he
Of
can
course.
take them and make them sometimes.
Mhm.
But I think the biggest thing is him being one of the three best defensive players in the league, obviously, and his defensive impact on the whole team is like it's I don't want to say second to none, but it's up there, you
Mhm.
know. But I think the other things with AD, like the weird inconsistency sometimes he has, and I don't want to say shying away in big moments, but like, dude, like sometimes he just kind of disappears, and that
Yeah.
just can't happen if you're my number one guy. And then obviously injury. So I might people might not like this, but I might have to say no for those reasons. I do think as a player, he is a number one option worthy player. I also want to say this. This might be a little, you know, in New Orleans, obviously that team wasn't great,
Uh-huh.
but the success he had wasn't like for his level of player. The team wasn't that bad to where they couldn't have been a little bit better, you know?
Mhm.
And that was when he was the number one guy. Obviously, New Orleans AD and Lakers AD is two different ADs, kind of, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. Like I want to not be boring and just say exactly what you said, but that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That he had the chance to be the number one guy in New Orleans. They couldn't do it. Then he goes to the Lakers. And the part that's just so annoying about Anthony Davis is he has all the traits to be the number one guy with the size, ability to score, incredible defender. Like this is a guy that can be your number one. We just don't see it. It makes like it hurts my brain on why we don't see it because he's everything you want. Like this is what you want to build around. And suddenly it just doesn't work it sometimes. And again, style wise, he should be the number one, but I'm going to say no just because we have yet to see it, or he hasn't given me a reason to believe in it.
I agree.
Yeah. And then my player number two is going to be Devin Booker.
Ah, the book. Um, you know what? I'm gonna say no.
Ooh.
So I'll give you a reason why.
Okay.
D Book in the regular season give you numbers, and he's even
Mhm.
been a good passer this year too. And his defense isn't as bad as people say, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why, and this might be nitpick as hell, but I'm gonna just roll with it.
Yeah.
His numbers in elimination games, bad.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
fair.
stats don't like his numbers in elimination games are bad, and we've seen it. Game seven
Mm.
against the Mavericks, when you're the top seed, you
Mm.
you go out there and your whole team gets outscored by one guy. Come on,
Mhm.
bro. You
Yeah.
know, and I think for that reason, that's my main reason. Like his elimination, like to be my number one guy, I have to trust you when we're in a game seven. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And he hasn't performed good in game sevens like pretty much ever. So I can't trust the guy who on paper or stats say don't perform in big games like that. So that's my one reason. I think as a player, he probably is right there. But yeah, I can't reason with him being your number one guy. Granted, he kind of was the number one guy in the Suns when they were in the finals, but they lost.
That was gonna be my reason, and it's why I am gonna give Devin Booker the odds or this
Mhm.
edge pause that I think he can be the number one option on a championship team. Is that Suns roster had Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, and he brought him to the finals. I feel like that should be enough. And since that moment, he's still a fantastic scorer, but he's evolved so much as a passer. And like you said, he's no slouch on defense like people say he is. Again, you have to get, I think if you give him a better team than DeAndre at Ayton and Chris Paul, this is a team that can win. And that's why I do have faith in Devin Booker. I think he could be the main guy on a championship team. Most overrated. I want to say overrated. I would say most overhated player in the NBA.
Mhm. I agree. I think he's definitely overhated. I know people don't like some of the antics he pulls sometimes, but I'm not really bothered by it. I like Devin Booker. He's a great player. And I, like I said, I brought it up before you could, obviously,
Yeah.
with the 2021 finals. But at the end of the day, for me, I just big games matter, like elimination games matter, and he has had a bad record in those games.
Mhm.
So for that reason, I'm gonna say no.
Well, agree to disagree. You know, we don't disagree a lot. As you said, we're normally on the same wavelength, but I am going to give Devin Booker the faith. But for our next player, I think this is going to be another fun debate, and it's going to be Jason Tatum.
Ah,
Yeah, this,
Tatum,
yeah,
like, you want to go first?
yeah. I'll go first on this one, and I think this one's going to bite me in the ass really hard. But I'm going to say no. And he again is kind of with Anthony Davis, where he has all the skills. He's a very solid defender. I want to say a great defender. Actually, he's an incredible scorer. Wants to shoot the three and far mid range a little too much, but when he gets to the rim and pulls up for the other shots, Jason Tatum is still a fantastic scorer. But he's had so many opportunities. I don't know how he hasn't done it yet. He's had this is obviously the best Celtics team he has had, but he's had strong Celtics teams pretty much until like right when he got, or even when he right when he got drafted. Like they've always had teams that are ready to make this push, and they just haven't seen it yet. But he has all the skills to do it. But because I haven't seen it yet, I'm going to say no.
And I'm gonna agree. Like, I think he's the same as AD, like where the talent and skills are there, but we just haven't seen it. Like, the Celtics have made the Eastern Conference Finals like 3 or 4 times in his
Mhm.
career, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and a perfect example to me and why like Tatum is like kind of shaky. Obviously, like you said, I swear Tatum doesn't know he's 6'9", 220. You know,
Yeah.
like he shoots way too many middies and threes. Like I think he shoots like 8 or 9 threes a game on like 34%. Bro, why?
No,
Like
literally.
why? I don't get it. But my biggest thing, he was in the finals against
Mhm.
the Warriors, and we know what he did in that finals.
Yeah.
Like it was bad.
Yeah.
Um, like I think at moments Horford, Derek White, and Brown were like even better than Tatum was sometimes.
Mhm.
Or I'm not gonna say sometimes. You know what? Let's not get controversial. But the thing with Tatum for me is it's like, bro, he just has this weird thing where like he just randomly like phases out, or not. I'm not
Yeah.
even gonna say phase because he's still shooting the ball, but he just can't make anything. He's not driving as much anymore. Like, here's my biggest thing. I watched that Warriors series 2 years ago against, this guy was being guarded by Steph sometimes and took a fadeaway. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Use your
Like,
size.
like I get it. Wiggins, he's around your same size. He probably has more bounce than you do, and he can play defense. All
Yeah.
right, cool. Steph Curry is shorter than I am.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm taller than Steph Curry, and he's stronger than me, but Steph ain't no like bodybuilder, you know?
No, for real.
Like there's no reason for you to force yourself to take a fadeaway jumper being guarded by Steph. So
Mhm.
for things like that, I can't trust Tatum, but he might be able to get away with it this year with the Celtics being as good as a team as they are.
Mhm.
But I feel like for most teams, if he's your number one guy, I don't know about
Yeah.
that one, bro.
And I want to defend Devin Booker because I said no to Tatum, but said yes to Booker. I just
Mm.
think with the teams Tatum has made it to the finals and Eastern Conferences with, they're just much better than that Suns team he's had. So the fact that Suns team was able to get in, that's why I want to give Booker the edge, just in case there's any confusion. Because like, how can you say no to Tatum but say yes to Booker? Like that's my reasoning. It's just Booker made it with a better team. Yeah, he didn't win it, but that team's like I don't want to say sucked because they made it. Like Mikal Bridges was on that team still, like they were doing great. But it's just like, yeah, DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul, I'm not taking that seriously at all. Even though Ayton
Well,
thinks he's one of the best players in the league. But
dominating, please. Only thing with me and Booker making the finals that year, I remember people were infamous for that season, like the injuries that happened. Like I know the Nuggets didn't have Jamal or even MPJ maybe in that first round series, and the Suns
Mhm.
swept them. Cool. Then who do they play before they played the Clippers? I don't even remember who the Suns played before they played the
Yeah.
Clippers in the conference finals. Um, but when they played the Clippers, it was just PG,
Uh-huh.
and they still took them to 6 games to beat them without
Mhm.
Kawhi. And I'm not one of them to do is like, oh, injury. If there's injuries that happen, means it doesn't count. No, definitely not like
Yeah.
that. But there is always context to something.
Mhm.
Um, but oops,
Yeah.
yeah, but him taking the Suns team to the finals is impressive for sure. Granted, Chris Paul was, but that year he was really good. I think
Mhm.
that was the last year Chris Paul was
Yeah,
like
before he like fell off.
literally before he hit them Celtics allegations, Celtics Shaq allegations.
Yeah.
Um, that was like the last year of Chris Paul being like a top 10, maybe top 5 point guard. So he was still good. I'm not gonna really talk too much about DeAndre Ayton. He was actually not bad in that playoffs, but
Like it's DeAndre Ayton. Like, let's be
yeah.
serious. And so, if
Yeah.
I'm correct, Everton, you are 0 for 3 on finding a guy to build your team.
Yeah.
All right, let me figure out if this is your guy. What about Tyrese Halliburton?
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't want to say I'm 0 for 4, but like he generates a lot of offense,
Mhm.
but he's a liability defensively. And that's kind of like what's holding me back with him.
Mhm.
Like, especially as a guard, right? Like, there's guys who generate a lot of offense and aren't great defense. Like Jokic, he's not like a slouch defensively. I'm not a casual, but let's be
Yeah.
honest, he's not like a great defender and nothing like that,
Absolutely.
And but he's a center, so it's easier for him to kind of get away with it.
Mhm.
One is as long as the rest of the team is solid defensively, and he's still 7 foot. So him
Mhm.
being in the paint,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And obviously offensively, Jokic is Jokic, whatever, right?
Mhm.
But for a guard, Tyrese is, like I said, defensive liability, and he's a guard. So it's even worse when you put that into perspective. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna low key say no. At least currently, Tyrese. If he can
Mhm.
improve defensively and even get better offensively, even how much I don't know how much better he can get offensively, but um, and plus my last thing with Tyrese, at least currently, I don't think Tyrese has been in the playoffs like yet,
No.
in his career. So and even my last thing in season tournament, he was heating up, like he
Yeah.
was beating everybody. But as soon as the finals, I guess,
Mhm.
whatever, championship game against the Lakers, when they were throwing good defense at him, he was kind of struggling.
Mhm.
And they lost that game. So I'm gonna say no, but maybe I'm being too harsh because it's crazy. I'm 0 for 4, but
Look,
hey, man.
this is another one I'm gonna disagree on you with because
Hmm.
I think Tyrese Halliburton can be the main guy. Because the thing is, it doesn't have to be the Pacers. I can build my team. Give me a 2 and a 3 I could defend. Like let
Yeah.
Halliburton run the show, and that's all for me. And
Hmm.
again, he wasn't great against the Lakers, but like that's one game. It's not like he had like a 7 game series to work with where they couldn't make that adjustment. So I'm not gonna hold that against him too hard. But
Hmm.
best passer in the league and still gonna give you like 23, 24 points a night. That's a star in my eyes. Getting 15 turnover, I mean 15 assists, no turnovers. That's the dream scenario, I feel like, for your star guy. And like, yeah, with the Pacers like scheme, it's just they don't play defense. But if it's my team, we're having some defenders to get around Tyrese Halliburton. You're crazy if we're not. And
Yeah,
so it's just
yeah.
with the thing. I know we haven't seen it in the playoffs yet. I think this season's gonna be a big tell. But with just his capabilities to pass the ball, score from anywhere, give me Halliburton can be a leading guy in a championship team. I feel like again, it's gonna need some defense around him though. But if you can do that, I can't see how Tyrese Halliburton can't be your main guy in a championship team.
Okay, so I'll say this, right? Here's my other kind of two reasons, I guess.
Hmm.
One, um, the I guess I'm thinking too much about the Pacers, but I guess if I'm making my own team, if I have Tyrese, he's a guy likes to run and gun type of thing. Like he's always quick, quick, quick.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, the game does slow down.
That's real.
And
That's a very good
sometimes that
point.
can mess up guys like Tyrese, where it's like, oh, okay, the game slow. Even though I don't think it'll mess up him because he's high IQ,
Mm,
whatever. But he does like to play at a faster pace. And in the playoffs, the game just is a lot slower
mm,
and it's more half court offense. So, that's a different type of game, whatever. And then my other thing is, you know, like guys like him who are like generate a lot of offense. It's hard, man. Like it's really hard to win a championship with that type of like player archetype.
Hmm.
Like when you look at the guys who have won championship, it's rare it's a guy like that who generates a lot of offense, but is like a defensive liability. Unless that team is like stacked, right? Like
Like
the
the
Warriors.
Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you got freaking KD, Stephen, Clay, like you weren't gonna lose regardless.
Hmm.
But that team was amazing defensively. So, um, and I mean, hey, if you build a team that got that level, hey, shoot, you probably could
Yeah.
win a chip.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like, when I think of like the scenarios, I'm thinking of him and then like guys who fit his play style, but not like three other all stars because that wouldn't make any sense, of course,
Yeah.
So for me, that's why I'd say no. But I can see
Mhm.
why you say yes. I'm not mad at it, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna
no,
still say
because
no.
I think your running gun thing is a good point, but you also kind of said my reasoning of why I would counteract that is he has such high IQ. Like, yeah, he likes a
Hmm.
running gun, but he can be smart with the ball. It's not like a man, I hate to hate on these guys, but Trey Young and De'Aaron Fox were like they're a
Hmm.
little more turnover prone. Halliburton's so smart with the ball. And so before we transition to the last guy, I'm gonna give you just a quick starting five off the top of my head. Tell me if this
Okay,
team could win this championship or not.
go
Give me
ahead.
Tyrese Halliburton, Derek White, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner.
Man just got every best defender at their position. That's
Hey,
hilarious.
only
I
the two
mean,
and three and maybe the five.
I'll be honest. Yeah, with that type of starting five, that's like the perfect starting five to have around Tyrese. Like he
Yeah,
can literally
exactly.
one are all shooters, so it's not like the
Mhm.
spacing is gonna be putrid.
Yep.
You got a rim protector.
Mhm.
You got another guy who can actually score too. Like
Yeah.
Pascal could put the ball on the floor.
Mhm.
You got the two best defensive perimeter like guys in the league. So
Yep.
that would literally be the perfect team. So I
That's a,
probably would say
yeah.
in that scenario,
Like, are
yeah, I
you
mean it's
moved?
hard.
Come on.
It's hard to say no.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well that's like the perfect scenario. But
Uh-huh.
I guess for me, when I think of like, can he be your number one guy? I always think it's not always gonna be perfect. So
Yeah.
like it's kind of like for me, like you have to be able to be my number one guy in a situation that's not legit perfect.
Okay. I got you.
So
That makes
that's how
sense.
I feel.
Yeah, because my thinking on it is just a little different because like it's like if we could build a team, that's why I was like that came off the top of my
Yeah, yeah,
head. But
yeah,
with
yeah.
your logic, I completely understand why you would say no.
Hmm.
But now we're gonna end off on the big one, probably gonna be
Okay.
the most controversial debate.
Okay.
It's gonna be Joel Embiid, the MVP frontrunner. Is this the guy you can build your team around? Because logic says yes, but everything else says no.
Oh, bro, like I want to stay consistent because my reasoning for not picking guys like AD or Tatum or whatever, or mostly like Tatum or Devin Booker, when the lights get bright,
Mhm.
things get a little shiesty, and Joel Embiid kind of does that.
Yeah.
But I think I'll give him the respect in this sense that he is maybe the best player in the league or one of them, and none of those guys have reached those levels at least.
Hmm.
Um, and the thing for Embiid, he just needs to be his regular season self in the
Yeah.
playoffs. Like that's all it takes. He doesn't even have to elevate. Like, bro, if you can go into the playoffs averaging 36 and 12, bro, like that's all we need from you.
Yeah.
Um,
It's that funny to say though. All we need is 36 and 12 Embiid.
I mean,
Like
hey, bro, he
I
doing
know
it through
he's
80.
doing it, which is crazy to think about
You
what
know what
how
I'm
high
saying?
caliber of a player he is, and that's the expectations he's gonna have.
Exactly. Or even all right, if he had a dip, just don't fall 12 points below your season average, bro. Like
Yeah.
I can take if you go into playoffs averaging like 20 to 30 or 28 to 30 and like 11 boards, bro, I'm cool with especially like on your same efficiency,
Mhm.
cool with that. But when you
Absolutely.
have these generational level drops, bro, like so I'm gonna say yes. Plus, I want to go 0 for 5, bro. Like 0 for 5 is
Yeah.
crazy.
Gotta build this team around somebody.
Yeah, I know, right? I gotta find somebody to build a team around. But
Yeah.
I'd say Joel just he's the talent and everything is there for Joel. He just needs to do it in the playoffs. But it's I want to say no for that reason, but he's in a different tier. I can't say no. This Joel Embiid, bro. He's just I can't say that. I have to
Yeah.
say yes just off of that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm going to say yes, but if he sells this season, it's gonna be a no for eternity. I don't care if
yeah,
he scores
yeah.
100 points a game after this. The answer will be no. It's just you kind of brought it up earlier when we were talking about like the Doc Rivers teams about the Sixers, how he was
Mm.
just with a bunch of sellers as well, like James Harden and Ben Simmons. Like that's like maybe the three worst sellers we've seen in like NBA history. And this is the best team he's had to work with. Tyrese Maxey's taken like an incredible jump, and I think Tobias Harris is a solid player. He gets a little, I mean, he's nothing like amazing, but he gets a little overhated. And this team still has plenty of draft capital and make a trade for like another like guy if they need to. So I think this is best case scenario. He's playing his best basketball. He's just got translated the playoffs again. It's just crazy how hard a player can fall off for no reason. It's just if he can be him, which it's crazy that the only thing stopping Embiid is Embiid. That's a crazy sentence, but it's as true as it is. If
Literally.
Embiid can just get past those demons, I don't see how he can't be a guy you can build your championship team around.
Yep. I agree.